I wasn't sure what I was going to do today for a video. Please forgive my background, still recovering from a flood. It finally came to me. I know exactly after a situation that happened this last weekend. My fiance popped positive, and afterwards he had a candid conversation with me and talked about me getting vaccinated, which brings me to my video. I had to explain to him that people have allergies. In my particular case, I have an allergic reaction to the inactive ingredients, PEG, or polyethyl glycolate, and polysorbate. Both are considered inactive ingredients, but they are both in the vaccine. For some people, it's no big deal. In fact, for a majority of people, it's no big deal. In my particular case, it's an extremely big deal. About 20 years ago, I ended up in the hospital, not being able to drink or eat, being able to breathe, but my whole entire body was broke out in a rash, red rash, and my hands were swollen, so were my feet. I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything. And I remember being in and out of the hospital for a whole entire weekend, in the first weekend of June. And I did everything I could to do reversal of the different scenarios that kept coming up. It was little to major. By the time it was very end, it was classified as major, and the doctors didn't know what was going on. And that time I didn't have a medical staff working with me around the clock. I do now, but I didn't then. And the doctor, before he didn't believe me when he's like, I don't know what this is, but I suspect that it's gonorrhea. And my mom, I remember whispering in my ear, "You didn't," as though I had gone out on my husband, who has since passed. But that's besides the point. The fact of the matter, I was laying in this bed, barely being able to move, much less be able to eat. And she was backing the doctor. Anyhow, he said, "I'm going to give you an epi-drip." It's called epinephrine, and it comes in a bag, like 1 liter bag. They hook it up to you in, like an IV, and they let it go. And it was like watching a magic show, is what my mother referred to, because all the breakout completely disappeared. My throat completely reversed to where I was able to actually talk by the time I came out. I was not in a whisper or raspy voice. I was being able to eat finally, and was being able to drink, which I couldn't do for like 24 hours before that. The doctor came back and said, "Well, I guess I was wrong, and I have no idea what you're allergic to." It took a lot of trial and error, a lot of guess and check, and I realized I'm allergic to FD&C additives and preservatives. FD&C, if you look on any prescriptions or any cosmetic or any foods that are prepped or anything, they typically have these preservatives and additives, and then it's called FD&C, like yellow number 5, which is a common allergen, blue number 40, I believe, a few other different colors. Anyhow, I'm basically allergic to all of that stuff, and I'm allergic to PEG, or polyethyl glycolate, and polysorbate, to the point that I avoid foods and I avoid anything that has to do with them, simply because I don't want to be back in that situation, and I don't want to deal with another epi-drip. I remember what it did to me 20 years ago. So I am totally for the majority of people getting taken care of. I am very thankful that my fiance had gotten completely covered, clear down to his booster, and yet he still got it. Of course, he lives in a nursing home facility. In my particular case, I live in the house that I grew up in, and in the back here you see all of the foods basically that I eat. I'm vegan, not by choice, and is partially due to this original situation. I discovered that meats are getting covered with food coloring and to enhance their look out in the displays, and the way that they treat the foods, what they feed to the animals, you also take in. That means grass, that means corn, that means all that other good junk. I also discovered that I'm allergic to grass, of all things. Freshly cut grass. The chloroform that comes from the freshly cut grass, it makes my feet itch, swell up, and same with anything, any part of my body that touches it, it gets itchy and starts to inflame. So I wasn't sure what I was going to share this week, but it was definitely a precursor to the fibromyalgia syndrome, and I had to work on improvements for myself, my lifestyle, and so on. I was married at the time to a Latino chef, so when I couldn't eat his food, he felt that I hated him, when in fact I couldn't eat the foods because my body didn't do the foods very well anymore. He was all about eating meats and adding colors and all sorts of stuff. You can get natural colors from natural foods just by giving them a little extra cook. Like you can turn a green to an emerald green, or red to a ruby red. It just matters on how you take care of each little piece and get reinventing. So I do apologize. I burnt my throat last night. I drank some really hot cider. It was a little hotter than my throat could handle, and I ended up burning my whole entire mouth. So I'm like, anyhow, but that's besides the point. My whole thing is that some people have to go without different things because of PEG or because of polysorbate or any other additive or preservative. And being aware of these things and letting the medical professionals know that you have an issue is a big deal. In my particular case, I tried to tell my doctor, and he's like, well, just try it out. And I'm like, and you didn't go through that anaphylactic situation or the epinephrine. Thank you. No, thank you. I would rather just stay isolated, which I have pretty much isolated myself. I do mask up whenever I go out in public. I don't care where I'm at. I do not care who I'm with, which is very few people. I'm very selective on where I go, what I do, where I'm at, etc. And timing is everything for me, just because I am very protective of myself and of my situation, in the fact that I know that I am hypersensitive. My body is just hypersensitive to these situations. Now, another piece that I did learn is that PEG is considered a Macrogol, and it's also a derivative of petroleum, and it's used widely in laxatives and cosmetics and foods and all sorts of good stuff. So just a little piece of tidbit there. I can't use Vaseline jelly because I itch after I put it on. Polysorbate is a derivative of sorbate, and I can't have any of those either. Same reason. They're all preserving agents. And sorbate and polysorbate, I know, are used in a lot of foods, in candies, etc. And I don't eat any of that stuff anymore because I know I react to it. So I thought I would just share a little tidbit on what I know as a consumer. I am a certified life coach. I am not a medical doctor. I do coaching. I don't do medical stuff. I mean, there's some things that I'm fairly familiar with, but the things that I'm not familiar with, I won't touch on. This is just one of them that I happen to know, and I thought I would share so that you can make the best decision for you. I'm pro getting vaxxed. I'm pro getting taken care of. I'm also pro in you need to make your own decision for what is right for you in your health. Like I've had to take responsibility for me and my health and what I do to take care of me. So until next time.